I invite you to receive these words of invocation. On this day of celebrated accomplishment, we are filled with gratitude, thankful that our diverse paths have been brought together, thankful for the friends that have journeyed with us, for the families that have supported us, for dedicated faculty and committed administration. As we step off this stage and into the play of life, may our knowledge be coupled with wisdom that we might impact the world for the better. May we be filled with continued wonder and compassion that we might enrich the lives of those around us. Enable us to explore and embrace so that the play of life might resonate with peace. In the gift of love we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. Mr. Chancellor, Mr. Vice Chancellor, members of the board, fellows and faculty and staff, families and friends, and graduands, welcome to the celebration of convocation at the University of Guelph. I'd like to also extend a special welcome this afternoon to our convocation speaker and candidate for the title University Professor Emeritus, Dr. Barry Smith, who will be introduced to you formally in a moment. I'm Maureen Mancuso, the Provost and the Vice President Academic of the University, and I'm privileged to have the honor of opening this ceremony on behalf of the University, and would like to officially congratulate you, our graduands, on your momentous achievement. I hope you will join me in thanking the many people, family, friends, and mentors who have supported, encouraged, and assisted you in the pursuit of your studies. Today, we mark the end of one chapter of your lives and the beginning of a new one. You made it here today through years of effort and hard work. Now, it's time to turn toward other goals and the new challenges of increasing complexity and impact. Your journey of learning did not begin here at Guelph, nor does it end here today. If anything, it builds upon your experiences of the last few years to become more arduous, more enlightening, more productive, and more fulfilling. You came here to develop the possibilities and resources of your own minds. You came here to change your lives, to devote some time to learning essential skills and acquiring knowledge, to challenge yourselves and extend your capabilities. Here, in our community of scholars, you had the freedom to learn about the world and to learn about yourself. We hope you learned a great deal about how you will fit into and affect the world. We hope you see your path more clearly and that you see how your contributions on that path can lead to a better world. We have tried to help you prepare by opening your eyes to ideas you might not have encountered, cultures of which you were unaware, perspectives that complement and sometimes contrast with your own. We have tried to help you to think critically, to reject simplistic answers to complex questions, and to refuse the empty satisfaction of half-truths and partial solutions. Ultimately, we have shared with you one fundamental lesson. There's always more to learn. It's now up to you to start applying that lesson and those skills. We send you forth as representatives of the University of Guelph. We know you will make us proud, and we hope you're proud to wear the Guelph name. As you probably noticed, even when you were first applying to universities, we eagerly call attention to the exploits of our graduates. Be one of those people whose accomplishments we trumpet. Be someone who makes a mark on the world, someone who demonstrates the power and the potential of higher education. Take this responsibility seriously, because to quote my favorite fake president, the West Wing's Jed Bartlett, decisions are made by those who show up. So now I say to you graduates, flush with the pride and powers of the finest education we know how to provide, show up. Show up in your own lives and live them critically, live them wisely. Show up in the lives of others, family, friends, and strangers, and make them better directly or indirectly, however you can. Show up in the world, not just as pictures on Facebook, but as someone who makes a difference, even if that difference is harder to discern and doesn't go viral on YouTube. Most especially, show up as active, aware, caring citizens of your country, your city, your world. And this week, that includes voting in our provincial election. Wherever your future leads you, please don't forget that even though you may no longer be on campus, you are still a part of our community. Your association with Guelph, like your journey of learning, is lifelong. We hope you will feel welcome to return from time to share your accomplishments and experiences with your fellow alumni, your former professors, and the future students who will follow in your footsteps. And so once again, I bid you welcome. Enjoy this ceremony, take pride in what it represents, and remember all of those who have helped to make this day possible. I offer you my personal congratulations and every best wish.
Mr. Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Senate of the University of Guelph, it is my great honor to present to you Dr. Barry Smit for the distinction of University Professor Emeritus. Dr. Smit is one of the world's leading authorities on human vulnerability and adaptation to climate change. A professor of geography and Canada Research Chair in Global Environmental Change, he was one of the first scholars to study the impact of global climate change on food security and to consider the impact of climatic variability on societies and economies. His work on assessing how communities deal with changing climate has been applied in dozens of settings, from the Canadian prairies and high Arctic to Bangladesh, Ghana, and Samoa. This work has helped establish concepts and methods that are now widely employed in Canadian and international climate change scholarship and policy. His exemplary academic career spans nearly 4 decades at the University of Guelph. He has published more than 100 peer-reviewed journal articles, 5 books, and numerous chapters and reports, delivered more than 250 presentations, including many invited distinguished lectures, and has directed major Canadian and international research programs. He has received awards for innovation and excellence in teaching and has mentored dozens of young researchers, many of whom, like me, now hold senior positions in universities, governments, businesses, and non-governmental organizations. He has advised government agencies and organizations across Canada, including contributing to the development of Ontario's climate change adaptation strategy. Internationally, he has worked around the globe in more than 30 countries with governments, international institutions, and community organizations. As lead author to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, Dr. Smit was a co-recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007. Other honors include the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal in 2013, the Order of Ontario, also in 2013, and the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada Gold Medal for Research Excellence and Impact, also awarded in 2013. His accomplishments have contributed to the international reputation of geography at Guelph. In well-deserved recognition of his illustrious career and important contributions to our understanding of climate change impacts and adaptations, I now ask you, Mr. Chancellor, to confer upon Barry Smit the distinction of University Professor Emeritus.
By the authority of the Senate of the University of Guelph, I have the honor to name you University Professor Emeritus. Congratulations. Barry Smit will now give the convocation address.
Mr. Chancellor, distinguished guests all, and the graduating class. I have a confession to make. When I was a student, one day I missed a class. I know, it's no big deal. Some students miss all the classes, and some of them actually pass the course. But the significance of my missed class was that in that class, we were given an assignment to prepare to give a speech at the next class. Don't get ahead of me here. So I'm at the next class, and it quickly becomes apparent that I'm likely to be called upon to give a speech. And obviously, I haven't prepared it. I don't even know what the topic is. And to make matters worse, the prof was one of those with that uncanny ability to identify people who are not prepared. So for this speech today, I did some homework. I asked people who had graduated, and mostly in the last year or so, what they remembered most about their convocation speech. And the overwhelming response was that almost everyone remembered absolutely nothing about their convocation speech, not even who gave it. So the silver lining here is that it doesn't really matter what I say, because a year from now, you'll have forgotten everything. In fact, given the parties I've heard planned for tonight, by noon tomorrow, you will have forgotten everything. Nonetheless, I'll give it a shot. The first thing I'll say is that you have accomplished something remarkable. You have completed a university degree. Congratulations. Give yourself a round of applause. And it's not just me that thinks your achievement is amazing. Before the ceremony, I talked to some of your friends and family, and some of them were truly amazed. They couldn't believe that you'd actually completed the degree. But in the year you were born, approximately 130 million other people were born around the world. And only a tiny fraction of them will graduate from university. So you've achieved something distinctive, but of course you're also very privileged. Most of those 130 million didn't have a chance to go to university. So even if, while at Guelph, you lived under a bridge and ate pet food, you're still privileged. But your accomplishment is even more impressive than getting a degree. You have graduated in social and applied human sciences. Now, I'm going to use the term social sciences for short, if you don't mind. And contrary to the occasional uninformed opinion, social sciences are profoundly important. I've been involved in dozens of development projects around the world. And we often hear that to promote development, whether it's in Uganda or Bangladesh or Bolivia, we need natural sciences and engineering and the like. And they're important. But if you ask any person experienced in international development, they will tell you that the overwhelming constraints on development are things like ineffective governance, political instability, social and cultural conflicts, corruption, lack of effective public institutions. That is, the things that social sciences address. And just in case you think that this applies only to international stuff, consider Canada. What are the pressing issues to be confronted in Canada over the next 50 years? That's when you lot will be making the decisions. Healthcare. The key issues will be about healthcare delivery. Who pays? What are the roles of the private and public sectors? That's all social sciences. Employment and immigration. Economy and trade, social sciences. Education, social sciences. Elder care. Okay, I better declare a conflict of interest, but it's still social sciences. Resources, energy, decisions among oil and gas, nuclear, hydro, wind, solar. Yep, we'll need natural sciences and engineering, but the decisions, the public and private decisions about these things, this is the issue that social sciences address. And in my field of climate change, some say, oh, that's an environmental issue. Well, it's way, way more than that. The causes of human modification of the climate are human activities, social sciences. The consequences of climate change. Sure, they're physical and ecological, but they're also economic and social. The way it affects livelihoods, economies, communities. That is, social sciences. And the responses to climate change. Perhaps reducing greenhouse gas emissions or adapting to a changing climate. Both individual actions and public policies, that's all in the realm of social sciences. So, social sciences, what you people have, is fundamental to the future well-being of Canada and the world. You have expertise in social sciences. Use your expertise. You are privileged, so you have a responsibility to use your expertise. Now, you'll make decisions of all kinds over the next 50 years relating to these issues, as individuals, as family members, in your businesses and your professions. And you'll play a role in politics, even if you don't want to. You'll either vote or not vote. And maybe some of you will be Prime Minister, maybe you and you and you. And your decisions in all of these areas will be guided both by the information you have on the issue and your values or principles. Now, the information available to you is already almost infinite. At the click of a finger, you can get access to unbelievable amounts of data. Your challenge will be to separate fact from fiction. So much of our information comes in the form of tweets and blogs, mostly opinions. Our communications are becoming shorter and shorter, essentially slogans, commonly promoting a particular ideology or dogma. And many interests devote massive resources to distorting or suppressing information. You will be presented with arguments as if they are conventional wisdom. And some of these conventional wisdoms are fraudulent and have serious consequences for you and your families. I'll give you an example. The links between tobacco smoking and disease were well known in the 1800s and well proven scientifically by 1950. Yet public acceptance of those facts was undermined by a concerted public relations campaign by the tobacco companies. They paid for bogus studies, they undermined the science, they claimed that discouragement of smoking would ruin the economy. Now, this misinformation campaign was so successful that action by public agencies was delayed by decades, resulting in hundreds of thousands of deaths in Canada alone. So the information available to you will be filtered and distorted by all sorts of vested interests. Even some governments suppress information and muzzle scientists. Now, assuming you find reliable information, what principles or values will guide your decisions? Will it be the well-being of humankind? Will it be maybe leaving the earth usable for future generations? Justice? Fairness? Happiness? As the philosopher Pharrell Williams has said, clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. But what are your values? And you should check what values are presented to you under the guise of conventional wisdom. So as part of our work on the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, we had to summarize all the public research on the impacts of climate change. So we documented impacts on physical systems like sea level and glaciers, on biological systems like forests and polar bears, on food, on economic sectors, on livelihoods, on health, on lives themselves. Then we were advised to convert all of these different impacts into one number, dollars. Why? Well, we were told it was conventional wisdom, that policymakers needed just one number and economic costs were paramount. Now, I know sometimes we have doubts about the ability of some decision makers, but most of them actually can consider more than one thing at a time. But conventional wisdom won out, and so we started converting everything to dollar costs. So food shortages, they were not nutritional value, but monetary value. For communities inundated by sea level rise, it was the value of the buildings lost. For glaciers, It was the price that people would pay to go see a glacier. The value of a polar bear was what a hunter would pay to shoot a polar bear. For disease impacts, it was the cost to the healthcare system and so on. And then we got to the value of human lives. Now, I was sitting next to Dr. Salim-ul-Huq, one of the most respected scholars in the world and a personal mentor to me over many years. So the calculus for the dollar value of a human life, according to this conventional wisdom, was to take each country's GDP and divide it by the population. Now, when you do that, a person from Canada, me, was valued at $52,000. A person from Bangladesh, Dr. Huq, was worth $740. The conventional wisdom was that all things can and should be valued according to monetary costs, even when that idea or ideology was spurious, totally unnecessary, and quite frankly offensive. Now, such presentations of ideology as conventional wisdom are common, even here in Canada. The Atlantic cod fishery was once one of the most productive fisheries in the world, and it was the foundation of livelihoods and economies in Newfoundland and other parts of Atlantic Canada for generations. Increasingly, the industry sought to maximize profits in the industry, and our technology allowed us to find and catch almost every single fish. The scientists warned that we were over-harvesting and the stocks were threatened. But there was opposition to limiting harvesting in Canada, with arguments like, oh, we can't hurt the economy for the sake of the environment, or let the market work it out, or we can't lose jobs. This was the conventional wisdom, and people accepted it. So what happened? Of course, the fishery collapsed completely. And this wasn't just an environmental disaster. This was an economic and social disaster. Companies went bankrupt. Thousands of jobs were lost. Communities were devastated to this day. All because people naively accepted the so-called conventional wisdom, which was actually let short-term economic gain prevail in a non-market situation. Now, of course, some conventional wisdom is actually wisdom. Conventional wisdom says, when hammering in a nail, avoid hitting your thumb. Now, that's logical, and I can tell you it's supported by empirical evidence. Unfortunately, many so-called conventional wisdoms are really spurious arguments. Just recently, just the other day, Kinder Morgan, a pipeline company, made a submission to Canada's National Energy Board to expand their pipeline capacity. Now, my point is not about pipelines. They may be great. My point is about arguments. And one of their arguments in their report, and I quote from their report, oil spill response and cleanup creates business and employment opportunities for affected communities and for cleanup service providers. I'm not making this up. By this logic, we would encourage traffic collisions because they would create jobs in hospital emergency wards and funeral business. Yet we accept these sorts of arguments. My point is, check what is presented to you as conventional wisdom. Don't just accept the catchy phrase. Use your critical thinking skills. Use your social science expertise to assess the merit of arguments. With your degree and its privilege, you have a responsibility to challenge misleading claims. Don't be indifferent. Stand up for what you believe in. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Barry, for those thought-provoking and engaging remarks. Well, the moment has arrived. Will the graduating class please rise? Mr. Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you these scholars who have fulfilled the statutory requirements laid down by the Senate of the University of Guelph that they may be admitted to their various and several degrees.
By virtue of the authority vested in me and in the University of Guelph, I hereby accept you for admission to your various and several degrees, and with all the rights, privileges, and obligations appertaining thereto.
Will members of the graduating class please be seated?
Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, if I could ask you, please, I know some of you will want to give a shout out to the party that you're particularly here to see today. That's absolutely fine. But if we could reserve the thunderous applause till the end of each degree program, I'd be grateful to you. Thank you. Mr. Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree Bachelor of Applied Science Honors Program. Emmeline Alexandra Barrett with distinction. Ariana Berrigan. Melissa Anne-Marie Blanchard. Caitlin Emily Bridge with distinction. Alexandra Katerina Carambellas. Leah Mello Cardinale. Monica Elizabeth Cordasco with distinction. Tanya Constantini with distinction. Laura Elizabeth Crawford. Catherine E. Crichton with distinction. Sarah Maureen Embleton. Avery Lynn Francis. Jessica Froelich. Angel Lynn Gagne. Joyanne Gardner with distinction. Brianne Jennifer Jean Gibson. Ashley Elizabeth Gordon with distinction. Stephen Brian Robert Harnock. Jessica Frances Huntington. Paige Elizabeth Hookey. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, I may have got that wrong, with distinction. Hillary Carol Ingle with distinction. Lauren Eisenegger. Erin Michelle Jenkins. Stephanie Alexandra Kearney with distinction. Rebecca Kineo with distinction. Erin Jean McKinnon with distinction. Jennifer Victoria Massey. Lauren Brianne McDonald with distinction. Kendra Ann McClellan with distinction. Emily Ann McWaters. Carly Christine Meinke with distinction. Thank you. Erin Christine Nichols. Alexis Rachel Moore with distinction. Tricia Muldoon. Siobhan Olivia Nice with distinction. Kayla Paige Nicholson. Anastasia Podolek. Megan Elizabeth Reddy. Daniela Samantha Robinson. Stefania Sacconi with distinction. Chelsea Chon-Yen Soveral. Caitlin Janine Spears with distinction. Lindsay Amber Stacy. Erica Steele. Jenna Rianne Topoli. Shelley Marie Vanderhout with distinction. Madeline Leslie Whittle. Mattia Natusha Jean Wills. Sina Felitas Worthel. Olivia Grace Walter. Rachel Wong. Vanessa Margaret Zoris with distinction. Please join me in congratulating these students, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Science, that they may be admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Arts Honors Program. Alexandra Basket. Emily Catherine Bird with distinction. Stephanie Bishop with distinction. Eric Joseph Bombardier. Mark Anthony Cascone. Hannah Ruth Charters. Thanks. Shelby Diane Clark. Ellen Ennis Clarkson. Adam Bruce Connor. Justin Paul Crow. Pamela E. D'Ambrosio.
Last name's DeWright. Thank you.
Martina McKella DeRoit. Amanda DeFibo. Chantel Shamin Drapal. Madeline Beth Drukarsh. Nicole Elizabeth Duncan. Jillian Shayna Elliott. Victoria Ervik. Laura Dana Fazari. Emily Jane Feeney. Devon Haley Fegan. William Harding with distinction. Ryan Stephen Hoffman with distinction. Lauren Marie Hotchkiss. Jennifer Howell with distinction. Megan Hughes. Brittany Elizabeth Ingram with distinction. Elizabeth Jameson. Lauren Ann Jesperson. Kara Johnson. Isabella Katspershak. Michelle Kivlenieks, with distinction. Derek James Klatt. Valerie Lefebvre. Megan Lea D'Souza. Zachary Samuel Lakornik. Devon Maria Macia. Sydney Robertson Mayer. Margaret Ann Sullivan McLaney. I was so busy reading the card, I didn't realize I was standing beside somebody I knew. Jeffrey McEwen. Megan Melita. Alyssa Natalie Mutzi. Christopher Nairn. Holly Marie Noble. Andrew Daniel Payne. Stephanie Picassi. Kate Elizabeth Pindera. Heidi Caroline Preby. Sarah Candace Rosalind Pine, with distinction. Benjamin Ramsey. Claire Elizabeth Ricker. Sarah Ray Ricker. Stephanie Lynn Romke, with distinction. Erica Ruxtel. Caitlin Mackenzie Sheffy, with distinction. Kira Catherine Secchi. Christina Marie Sevick. Jamie Brooke Smith. Karen Nicole Taylor. Hillary Leanne Vizel. Nicole Catherine Ward. Danielle Patricia Watson. Jordan Webb with distinction. Emma Wooldridge. Emma Grace Young. Mr. Chancellor, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, please recognize this group of scholars. If I forget, you launch in and I'll catch up to you. Mr. Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Arts General Program. Hilary Michelle Searson. Taylor Lee Chamberlain. Charlie Lynn Cotton. Alyssa Nicole Cousins. Dakota Creeley. Carolyn Davey with distinction. Savannah Page Duchin. Melissa Marlene Feener. Emma Noel Gagne. Danielle Hanneman. Dana Elizabeth Leanne Hyrich. Sydney Vera Jane Kerslick. Thea Teresia Karzatz. Heather Laura McGee. Ashley Nicole McEntee. Taylor Ray Moravitis. Samantha Nye. Nicholas Oakley. Emily Margaret Rutledge with distinction. Jessica Ann Sandercock. Laura Senint. Ursula Vivian Tawes. Megan Trache. Matthew Ryan Trukin. Sarah K. Wagner. Jessica Ruth Norma Wilson with distinction. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating these scholars. Mr. Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Science that may be admitted to the degree of Honors of Science, Bachelor of Science Honors Program. Kristen Marlene Bursey. Stephen Darrell Stanley. Abby Nicole Trashel. Please join me in congratulating these students.
How about you put your hands together one more time for the dean, who did a great job with all the names. Mr. Chancellor, I would ask you to confer the various and several degrees on the graduands listed in the program, but unable to be present at this ceremony.
By virtue of the authority vested in me and the University of Guelph, I confer the various and several degrees in absentia on the graduands not present.
Mr. Chancellor, members of the Platform Party. So, you did it. You really, really, truly finished. You've got your parchment, the piece of paper that proves it. You're good to go, and you are a graduate of the University of Guelph. But maybe just for a few minutes, we'll ponder and think about what it means as you stride away from here. What do you carry with you? What does it mean to be a Griffin? Well, I hope you take with you a great deal of knowledge, not precise information about the things that you learned in class, although I hope some of them may someday be of some use. What I hope is that you will take away from here what it is learned to be a critical, aware, and caring citizen, one who can actually use information to generate knowledge and wisdom, and then someone who will care about the planet and the people around you. A person who knows how to do things, a person who wants to change lives and improve life. So, despite my eminent colleague saying, don't listen to trite phrases, thank you, Barry, I want to ask you to think about the Griffin Code. I want to ask you to think about the things that might make a difference, both in your own lives and the lives of others. And that code is a cute mantra, all words beginning with the letter L, that might both help you and define you, and perhaps on those days when you feel less confident, because let me assure you, no matter who you are, how successful you appear to be, we all have days when moments of doubt creep in, moments of wondering whether this is really worth it. So here are 7 L's. Number one, live. Live life to the fullest, every single moment of it. Push yourselves to do something new. Try everything just once. You'll never know whether you like it or not if you don't try it. And in trying, you might just have some fun. Or at least, you'll have a ridiculous story to tell people about what you did that was really stupid. So live. Second, laugh. Laugh at yourself and with others. Nothing should ever be too serious not to find something to laugh about. When I first started working in the refugee camps in Kenya, I was really puzzled. Despite the fact that these people have absolutely nothing, and in many cases, their faces are just a facade over deep and unimaginable sadness and tragedy that they have experienced. These people laugh. Why would they do that? And then I realized they laugh in the face of adversity to chase away the gloom and defy the despair that besets them. They laugh to make their own lives and the lives of other people better. So live, laugh, and the third is learn. Never stop learning. Only by being alert to the changing world around you, by being flexible and alive to possibilities, and taking the time to really learn about a situation, will you be able to live a life that is filled with possibilities, change, and hope for the future. Live, laugh, learn, listen. Listen. Only by truly listening will you really understand what is going on in this world. But don't just listen to others. Listen to your heart. Deep down, all of us have a voice, a moral compass, a sense of what is right or wrong, what makes us happy or sad. Listen to that heart and work tirelessly to hear the beatings of its rhythm and the pulse of others, to know how to act with courage and commitment. Live, laugh, learn, listen, leave. Know when it is time to go, time to move on and leave others behind you to take up the cudgels. Have confidence that the footprints you leave behind will make a difference because you've done a job really well. Those prints will be an indelible mark on the lives of others, and the shifting sands of time will not wash them away, but create a permanent memento of what you have done and what you have achieved, not necessarily for yourself, but through the lives of others. So live, laugh, learn, listen. And perhaps the sixth is luck. All of us require that special magic to see and seize the opportunities. So be on the lookout for them. They happen all the time, and they so often come from the work that you do. William Jefferson once said, opportunities, I think his words for luck, usually come dressed in overalls. It was his way of saying, you really have to put effort into your life in order to find the luck. So live, laugh, learn, listen, leave, have luck. And you all know what the last one is. So I'm going to ask you to demonstrate it. I'm going to ask the graduates to stand up and turn around and applaud the people who clearly demonstrate the last of those. So stand up and give them some applause. Thank you. So now that you're a fully fledged Griffin, go out and take on the world. And we really need you. In a world that is riven with injustice, that is challenged by dogma and prejudice and disadvantage, our only hope is you. Do something. I don't care whether it's actually taking on some of those leadership challenges that we know are those issues that face societies, or whether you should just decide today to make someone's life better. And how do you do that? By simply smiling at people. Just set out from today to smile at somebody that you don't know. It helps them along their journeys. Find ways to include people of all ages and stages, all genders and races in everything that we do to make this a better planet. So, take your parchment, take the values and ideals that you have learned here, take your friendships, take your Griffin code, and get out of here. Those of us that are left behind will be watching you with great pride. I celebrate and salute your successes, and I wish you every success in the future. Thank you. Following convocation, the Dean has arranged that there's a reception in the atrium of the Science Complex, and I hope that you'll take the opportunity to attend. Please, please take lots of pictures. They are the memories and mementos that you will bring back year after year, and I hope you'll return as alumni to the university. In 2 weeks' time, we have Alumni Weekend, and this year there will be people who graduated 60 years ago attending. So make sure you've got those pictures, because you'll want to talk about what your lovely curled hair looked like. You'll want to talk about those ridiculous shoes that you tried to wear walking across the stage. I'm not sure what the girls will talk about. Actually, there were only 13 boys in this group. But before you go, I do have one favor to ask. We're doing 22 ceremonies this week, which means that there is already a gang of people waiting outside that way to come seething in to the hall. So for fear that you are crushed, when the procession has finished and the Chancellor has processed out, would you please make sure that you leave by the doors on this side and you won't be washed away by the tsunami of new people coming in? And at some stage, either to the tents or over in the Science Complex, please return your gowns. Thank you.
Convocation is dismissed.